Hey, it's Mark Blackburn here, escaping the hype at the US Open with my student Heath Slocum. We're going to share with you a few of the things we've been doing with the Kvest to help Heath play some great golf for the last couple of years. So we're set up here on the range at TPC Avenel. Heath, why don't you go ahead and set up a little bit. Heath's what we would deem sort of hypermobile, so he's very, very flexible. Tends to over-rotate his hips and gets into a little backward bend. So the Kvest is fantastic for reducing that rotation and allowing him to make some really good pivots. So what we try and do is get him set up so he can get used to restricting the hips, making sure his torso doesn't over-rotate. Typically, if he just lets it go himself, he can get between 50-55 degrees of hip turn and over 110 degrees with a thorax, which makes it very hard, gets the club deep and behind him, difficult to get back to the golf ball, and obviously he has to use his hands a little bit. So Heath always kind of tells me, he says, I really like the feeling the vest gives me, but because I feel nice and compact. He said it doesn't feel as strong, but in reality it's a lot more powerful for me. You'd agree with that, wouldn't you?
100%.
So just trying to reduce the body motion, make it a lot more efficient. The vest allows him to get the feeling. So obviously words, video don't always get the feeling across to the student, and the vest is fantastic for that. So obviously we've got the vest in the background and listen to the tones. A lot of time when we practice, we put it down on a laptop in front so Heath can actually look at it and he can see the visual as well as hear the sound. So obviously we've worked there on the backswing with Heath, restricting his hip turn. For him it feels like he's restricting the hip turn, in reality it's not. He has a hard time being so flexible of actually isolating, restricting the hips and the torso. If he over rotates, he gets in trouble. So every reaction there's an equal opposite reaction. So if he gets this way on the way back, then on the way through what tends to happen is he comes up, extends a little bit and gets out of posture. So on the downswing, a really good thing we've worked hard on is to try and get the right shoulder and the radius in the right position, and the downswing impact, getting the torso in the right position for impact, allows him to get that feeling of getting the club down where it needs to be at impact. So he's got a good radius to the golf ball. He doesn't have to use his hands very much, and he can create some compression into the golf ball. So obviously he does that from a nice compact position. There's no wasted motion. He gets to the top, he's loaded, and now he can come back into the ball. So why don't you go ahead, Heath, and hit a shot there. Okay. So obviously it's very important. We want to create as much force into the golf ball as we can. So we're in a nice position at the top, but then obviously we want to come down. We don't want to extend into the shot, which would cause too much hand action. So again, Heath being very much a path dominant player versus a hands dominant, it's really important for him to get that posture and the pivot down into the ball. And history's shown he responds very, very well to pivot orientated things, which again would relate well to the fact that he doesn't use his hands excessively in the golf swing. Face is quite neutral. So thanks very much for joining us here at TPC Avenel. Hopefully you got an insight into how we've been using the Kvest and how useful it's been to two of Heath's wins in the last 2 years. Someone like him who tends to have a lot of flexibility, getting the feeling of what it's like to stay within range so that you can get back to the golf ball, create some nice torque in your golf swing and create compression of the golf ball, restricting the hips and the torso, and then getting that upper body and the thorax into the good position and impact, hugely important. So, I mean, Heath, why don't you tell folks how much you think the Kvest has helped with the pivot training in the last couple of seasons for you?
Well, it has been invaluable for me. It's something that I can get into and see instant results and kind of save time. It puts me in the position, I get to feel it, I get to see it, and then I get to actually hit a golf shot and see the results instantaneous. It's been so helpful, and you know, it's something that I can't even imagine not practicing without now.
Yeah, and I think the great thing, obviously one of the best players in the world can utilize it. For the average golfer and for our students that we work with every day and the club golfer, for them it gives them the feeling, they can see it, they can hear it, and it's instantaneous. They actually get the feedback so they can take it out to the golf course and they're able to duplicate it, get the handicaps lower and get more people playing golf. And that's what we all want, especially as instructors. So thanks very much for joining us. It's been a great day. Hopefully Heath will do the business this week and we'll be lifting up the trophy here at US Open. Thanks very much for joining us.